Let me ask you something. Are you busy all the time? Or are you actually running a profitable, well-structured business? Because they're not the same thing. If you've got a full calendar, active projects, maybe even a team, but behind the scenes, things feel reactive, inconsistent, a little chaotic, this is exactly what we fix at Lu University. Beginning April 13th, 2026, our 3-hour live intensive starts. Focus sessions on the things that actually improve your business. And by the way, your state of mind and your pocketbook. All right. Improve your pricing, your time tracking, your marketing, your operations, your leadership. No fluff, no theory. Real systems that you can take back to your business immediately. Here's the best part. It's 3 hours. Each class is just 3 hours. But the clarity you get can change how you run your business from that day forward. All right. So they start the week of April 13th and the second batch starts the week of April 20th. So if you're ready to stop running your business on, it feels like a good idea and start running it with intention, go to LuAnnUniversity.com and scroll down and take a look at those intensives. Let's change your business now, not someday in the future. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we're doing something a little different over the next several months. We're bringing back the most downloaded, the most talked about episodes from the last 9 years of A Well-Designed Business. These are the episodes that built businesses, that sparked aha moments, that turned you into an action taker. Now, if you're wondering why we're revisiting these episodes and what's changing with the show overall, well, I walk you through the full vision in our April 25th, 2025 episode titled The Big Shift, What's Changing on a Well-Designed Business and Why. That episode is linked for you in the show notes. Now, a quick heads up. These episodes are airing as they originally did. That means the music might sound familiar or it might be vintage. That means the event dates will definitely be out of date that I talk about. And it also means that any offers that are mentioned may or may not be valid still. But the insights, still golden. So whether it's your first time hearing this episode or your 5th time hearing it, there's something in this conversation for you right now in this season of your business. So here's the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today we're talking design build with Denise Wenacur, the principal of DW Design Décor in Croton on the Hudson, which is a beautiful little community just outside of New York City. With more than 30 years experience, Denise shares today how she started her firm and how she conveys to her clients the importance of having the interior designer as a point person for them between the architect, their builder, and themselves. She discusses the ways having an interior designer on the team from the outset truly benefits the process. We also touch on how, in addition to her degrees in fine arts and communication, her design certificate from the New York School of Interior Design, that Denise also holds a construction manager certificate from Pace University. She tells us how this helps her be more effective for her clients, but she also explains how it helps her in building and maintaining relationships with both architects and builders. Denise shares some ideas on how to meet architects and builders, even if you don't have your certificate in construction management. Okay. Now, before we get into this, I want to say thanks so much to Article for sponsoring the show. You can sign up for your To the Trade account at welldesigned.article.com. Once you have your trade account, you can start specifying their Scandinavian-inspired mid-century furniture for your projects. Office, living, dining, and outdoor furniture, all beautifully styled and delivered quickly and efficiently. Go to welldesigned.article.com. Okay, let's meet Denise. Hi, Denise. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hey, LuAnn, I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. So, Denise, we know each other. We have lots of common friends and we have lots of common circles. We live in the same area. We see each other at High Point. We see each other in New York and New Jersey. And one of the things that happened is that you came up to me and said, you've had some really good discussions on the show about design build firms. And I'm a design build firm. And I would love to know if you want to continue that conversation. And I said yes, because whenever we have a design build firm on the show, we've had Laura and Cliff Muller from 4 Point Design Build. We've had Angela Rasmussen from H2 Design Build. We actually, John and Teresa Dorlini, they're an architect designer firm and from Circle Design. So they're also a design build firm. And it's always a good conversation. And I always get tons of feedback on it. And so I was like, yes, let's do it. And tell me what is your perspective on it? Why do you love it? Why did you move into it for yourself? And how does it inform what you do every day?
Well, I love to design and I love to build. And I think the first time that I got bitten by the bug was when we built our house over 20 years ago. And I just had loved all the aspects of construction and blueprints and the trades and just bringing the whole, everything to life and having a vision and bringing it to life. And I found that incredibly creative and just exciting. And then obviously, the interior design that comes after that as well. And when I started going into interior design full time, because I was in other fields of design prior, I hadn't started doing the building part. And I was following people's projects after they had done construction. And many times I was hearing these horror stories and they were saying this hadn't been finished by the people who they had hired, their trades. And it was just, they were like traumatized and saying, well, there's no reason for that. So I ended up changing my business model to include the construction part and went back to school, got a construction manager certification, just to kind of fill in the blanks a little bit. And so now I am the first point of contact when a client is thinking of doing a project. And then what I do is I put the teams together, and the team would be myself, the interior designer. I'd put together an architect, contractor, and then whatever trades need to be added as well. And it's really a 3-point. It's like the Holy Trinity. Everybody has their own unique perspective, point of view, and unique experience that they bring to it. And ideally, we all work together for the good of the client and for a perfect outcome. So that's kind of why I did it. And design build and interior design build is a little bit different from an architectural design build firm or even a contracting firm, because each one is coming from their unique point of view when they start the project. So mine tends to be a little bit of how is that person living in their house? What are they doing? It's our point of view in our business is it's all about the client. It's all about them. What do they want to do? And we're going to bring about that vision for them. And but it's specifically thinking about how they're going to live there and use that space. And
That's so what I love in there is the description how, because we all know that a consumer can decide to purchase a piece of land and build a home, and they can start with the architect, and then the architect can hire the builder and the designer, or the client can hire the builder and the designer. But sometimes it starts with the architect. Sometimes when you buy a piece of land and you build a home, it does start with the builder, right? And the builder has already done the architecture plans possibly, or that's happening in-house. And then maybe you're going to hire a designer, or the builder has a designer. And yours is the other way. You are letting your target client know that start with me and I will put the team together. And what I'm hearing in your description and also in the videos on your website that I watched is that you're explaining to the consumer why there is an advantage in your mind for starting with you as the designer who's going to pull in the architect and the builder and then create that triad collaboration. Because you really are, it sounds like to me, you're tapping into helping the consumer say, look, this is a technical process. This is an expensive process. But ultimately, let's start with what is it going to feel like 6 months or a year from now when you're living here? And what are the features that you want in this house? And let's start there and make sure that we build them in, right? We design and build them in through the architecture in the building.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
And it can be from built-ins. It can be from why somebody wants the location of their kitchen in one place or the other. How are they going to use the space? Who are they as people? And the design develops based specifically for their needs. So when at the end of the day, and we're start to finish, so we're there until the last flowers are in the vase, and we just do a high five and we say, okay, invite me to your next party because this place is so gorgeous. I want to come back. And it's really it's a great process, and I just try to stay one step ahead of everybody. So it's like I know when, and I'm actually working on a vacation home in Cape Cod right now, and we're in the middle of demo, and we got the permit, and it's just, okay, what does the architect need? Well, he needs, in a couple of weeks, he needs to know what our fireplace insert are going to be, because we changed it from a wood burning to a gas, and it's going to be two-sided. And how are we going to do that? And now we're going to be having a meeting on the windows and so forth. I mean, I had taken his plans because the architects are in New York. They're the ones who stamp the plans. So interior designers in New York cannot do that. They can in other states. And so I was able to take his digital plans and I put it in my 3D program. I bring them to life. And then I'm saying, this was at the beginning, saying, okay, the client doesn't want the kitchen over there. She really wants it over there because they're not going to be doing a lot of cooking. They really want to have the view of the outside. So it's so specialized. So we're making the decisions as the architect needs it, as a general contractor has now come in and he's saying, okay, now we need these other items and we need to order them and we work backwards. So we know that she wants to go in. Everything is probably going to be done in May. So we work backwards with all the construction materials that are needed. And right now I'm in the process of, and that's why I had seen you in High Point, finding all the furnishings for the whole house. And then I'll do that, and I'll do a timeline. I said, okay, we know that these custom pieces will probably, the upholstery, yada, yada, will take X amount of months. And then we have a receiver that I've located near there. So, it's a whole process to try and make it as smooth as possible and as nice as an experience. So even though it's a little scary to them because they've never done it all, before, most of them anyway, we're just letting them know what needs to be done and what the next steps are, and good communication, and it's important.
It is. And there's a couple things in there that I want to pull apart. The first thing is that you said that you took the architect's plans and made the 3D version of them. And I remember John Dorlini telling us that part of their process is whether he has done the architecture for a particular project, or in some cases the client has their own architect, and Teresa, the design firm, is the side of their business is going to be doing the interiors. He said that part of their process is that they really insist that a 3D be built of the house when an architect designs it, because he said that's how you find, and I wouldn't say mistakes, but the things that an architect is overlooking because he or she is so knee deep into the codes and all of the other things. And do you agree, and have you found the same thing with the projects that you've done, Denise?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. So the software program that we use is from Chief Architect, and they have different levels of software. And I use them for years. And so again, what I do is I import the digital plans that are submitted to the town into this program. I literally trace over it, and then it becomes a part of the program. And then I can do certain things in the program and turn it into 3D. And it's so helpful, especially when the walls haven't been taken down yet, or additions haven't been made yet. And so you're seeing what it looks like. It's before it's even been built, and it's super helpful. And I can put a virtual camera on the floor and have them walk around. And I post these little videos on my social media just to get people excited, because I still think it's so cool to see that and do it. And it definitely does help avoid any, as you say, not necessarily mistakes, but maybe going in the wrong direction. For example, we were working on a house that actually burnt down. So the shell was still there, but it was gutted. And then we took the opportunity with this family to do an addition. And so as I was bringing those plans to life, we realized that the two windows that were in the master bedroom were just a little too close together, and they couldn't fit a king-size headboard in between.
Wow.
Now, it hadn't even been built yet, which was so great. So at that point, I was saying, I think we need to move these out a bit, because look, here's the furniture in place and blah, blah, blah. Easy peasy, made the adjustment. There was no trauma, no wasted material. So that was an example of just such a helpful solution, just using these tools that are out there.
And the thing about that is it's not only the reason that when you as a designer are involved, that to like John's point and to your point, to insist on the 3D version of what is being built, so that you can explain and find the mistake. But it is the reason that someone should have a designer involved anyway at that point. I have, I have friends and friends from real life, not from design life, right? From regular walks of life, that have built a home. And as they are working with the architect, I have said, you need to hire a designer. Oh, I'll do that after the house is built. I'm like, you need the designer now. No, LuAnn, I'll do that after the house is built. And some have not listened to me and then run into problems like that. And others have understood, that is the thing. And that is the one thing that I think is hard for us as consumers to get that, until you tell us a story that is very visual like that. Because we've all, most of the time when you've going to build a home, it's not the first house you've lived in. Rarely is your first home a home that you build. It does happen, by the way. But my point is that you usually have come from another place, whether it's an apartment, if it is your first home and the first build, or another home that you've lived in, where something has been wrong architecturally. You're just like, that window was in the wrong spot, or the fireplace, or the corner, or whatever. And when I've said to my friends in real life, look, how about that window in your kitchen? Isn't it so stupid? Hasn't it driven you crazy the entire time it's been there? They're like, yes. I'm like, that's the kind of thing a designer will help you find out, just because the architects are designing either from a structural or from the outside, right? Not from the inside. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that they need to think about, and thank God that they do that, because I don't have the headspace or the talent for it. It's just not the way my brain works.
Right.
With these codes and everything, it's just really, really technical. So that's why you need to have a team in place. And I think it's so important. And it is, I mean, just having these kind of programs, I mean, they're available. It's so much easier for me to show them, like I'll show people why something doesn't work. And when it's kind of sticking to the facts, it's like, look, if we remove this window, look what we can do in this room now. Or if we move this wall over X amount, look how that changes the dynamic of the entire space and makes it so much more usable for you. So it's just an incredible tool to help us communicate and to help them envision, because it's hard for anybody to envision something without being able to see something. It's a great reference.
Right.
Great tool.
So let me ask you a question. I did mention that you've got the video on there on your website explaining your process, but I know that colleagues are listening now and they're saying, okay, yeah, you don't need to convince us that we need to do this, that this is an important thing. We're not the consumers, LuAnn. We know this is important. Mm-hmm. But they're saying, how do I how do I help the consumer more than a video on the website? Like, where do you find the client that you can say, look, inside voice, I'm in charge of this project. I'm going to find the architect. I'm going to find the builder. I'm going to run this ship. Outside is, this is going to be a better process for you if I'm involved, and yada, yada, yada. So the question is, did it just happen, Denise, because there was an opportunity one time, presented itself, all the chips fell into place, and it was successful, and from there, one referral, one project landed another referral? Or do you understand the question I'm saying? There's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I want to be this person. I want to be the point person on the triad. How do I let the world know, and how do I attract that?
Well, I think you're saying is, how do I let a client know that they should hire me first and then I put the team together?
Yes, because often we're going to come across the client after they've got the builder or the architect. So there's some way that you're putting a message out there that people know to find you first.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the way I got into it is by getting a project that, that allowed me to do that.
Right. So it's one good project creates a referral for another, and then you develop a reputation.
Exactly. So, so that happened. I brought in the architect and the contractor. It worked out great. And in my opinion, you do something once, all of a sudden you get the confidence that you can definitely do it again and do it better and bigger if that's what you want. And that's what happened. So then it kind of roller coastered from there, knowing that that's what I wanted to do because it's a better experience and a better end product for the client. And they don't even know they don't know how bad it can be.
Right.
But they many times they do know because they have a friend or they have somebody who went through something that was negative. Everybody has a neighbor, a friend, a sister, or somebody who went through something that was not a great experience with a construction or a renovation or something. And so this way I can say, okay, I did this for them. It worked out really well. You could talk to them. And now it gets to the point where it's like, I have so much online. I try to really chronicle my projects so then somebody can go on and see even a start to finish project from, house. I'm on house. So you can do a lot of the before, during, and afters on there. And then on my portfolio, on my website, I have all the finished pretty pictures. So that's how they find out.
So I love that. So that is until somebody has that first successful project that hopefully will generate some referrals. Some of the tangible things are to your point, have the video on there that explains the pros and cons and why it's so important to have a designer involved at the beginning. But then in your blog posts and your social media posts, you're consistently expressing through showing your process the value of having you and being involved. And you don't always have to say, hey, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. You have to have me involved. You could almost just, like if you had a social media post or something about that process about here was, the before you couldn't even fit a king bed and here's how it, we avoided it. That could be a blog post, right? With a couple of pictures that kind of shows that. So these are some tangible ideas on how to do that. And then beyond that, I also think that it's very important that you did go and get the certificate in construction as a construction project manager. And I understand from asking you ahead of time that, that was, several months of 5-hour days on Saturdays. That's a no joke certificate.
Oh, in the city and the end of Manhattan, leaving at 6:30 in the morning. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, and that's, and I'm sure that not only does that inform your actual skill set, but it also puts you on a level on the playing field with that architect and the builder where, look, they have their superpowers. To your point, the architect has so many things on his or her plate, the same with the builder. But to have a conversation that you're not marginalized because they understand that you have a working knowledge of more than the pillows, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, they because I'm not just doing the pillows with them, I'm doing the hard, the permanent materials that are going to go into the first part of the renovation. And it's also, and it's the kitchen design and the cabinetry, and then working with the cabinet company and that whole thing, and bathrooms and the tile and the plumbing and roughing in the back of the plumbing with the pretty part in the front. I mean, it's all these various parts of it that are most important to having this be a smooth project as much as possible. But also, these kind of programs, as many people know, are helpful even in just the more traditional interior design services. I mean, I have a client who they were talking about, well, on this big wall, because we want a dual purpose for this room, we were suggested to having a Murphy bed. And I'm like, okay. So I showed them a layout with how it would work using their one wall, and how if you have this thing here, because you can put the virtual camera on the floor and show them, you're going to walk into the entrance and walk into the side of this piece of furniture, and then there's no other place to put a television, this and that. It's gigantic. It doesn't work. So rather than me just saying, oh, no, that won't work.
Right.
And then be like, well, why won't it work? You this way I could say, well, here's option A and here's option B. And option A, you're going to walk into the side of this thing. It's gigantic. It takes up the whole room, and you only said you're using the bed part, a couple times a week when the grandparents come in.
Right.
Or you can have it this way, and you can have that big wall, have the television and blah, 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 and the bookshelf, and then you can have this beautiful pull-out sectional or sofa in the corner.
Right.
So it's and look at this, and it duals with your desk, and you have a lot more room. I mean, so it's also, I think it's really important. Again, communication is everything. And I think many times with what we have is even showing why something won't work so they feel heard, because you want the client to feel heard. It's all about them. And another thing I never want anybody to say about working with me is well, my designer told me to do that. I didn't want to do it, but she made me do it. I'm not going to make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. I'm just going to show them why it's not going to work and the pitfalls, because we don't want to make these kind of mistakes.
Right. Understood. Okay. Yeah. All right. So the other thing about it is that I would think, because you have taken all of the time and the money to invest in this construction project manager certificate and understanding that language, that when you work with a builder or an architect, that even when they have projects that you didn't put together the team, they're probably more likely to recommend you to a client that came to them, because they know that you're a good, knowledgeable team member to have as part of the process. Has that happened as well, that you're getting business from those different trades bringing you in as opposed to you always bringing them in?
Yes. So what's really nice is having various referral partners.
Right.
And I think I always feel that when I get my new clients from a variety of areas and people and so forth, that I'm doing my job, because I believe that if nobody knows that I'm here, the phone isn't going to ring, and it's just that simple. And that's why marketing, social media, marketing, more of that. Like half of my time is just letting people know what we're doing, not because we're so great, but because we want people to know what we're doing, because when they need a project to be done, I want them to think of us. So, so the referral partners can come from general contractors that were already hired when I was added to the team. And many times, it's always a 50-50 because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've been lucky the last few times I've actually really liked the people that were brought in, and then they become a part of my network because I have a whole pool of people that I bring in. It's like being a matchmaker on a project. It's not only the level of expertise that I bring in for the project, but it's a personality thing. You feel, oh, this one would mesh better with that one. The personalities and everybody, and it's just kind of a human nature type thing. And so that's super important. So I have been brought in and it has worked out, and I do get referrals that way, architects or contractors, whomever, and that's great. And then again, going back to the marketing, I mean, I've gotten clients just because I was on a mom blog that I didn't even know, and somebody was asking, who is somebody in the area, blah, blah, blah. I had somebody pass by my studio and saw my logo on the window, and they're like, I'm going to Google that. I'm like, yes. Right. And I also have this gigantic chandelier that shines brightly at night when it's dark. I'm like,
so it attracts their eye when they're in town. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even have people, on Instagram, and I have people come up to me like, how you doing? Good. I was like, what happened to that custom couch? Like, I'm dying to see it. I'm like, and I'm thinking, how cool is that? I'm showing a frame, I'm showing this, and they really want to see the couch finish. I'm like, well, that's cool too. So
that's fun. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific ideas or strategies that you could think of that worked for you that you could share on if you don't know an architect or you don't know the builder, on what is some of the introductory conversation? Because what I hear a lot of times, Denise, is that I've reached out to, I looked up in my area, there were 5 architects in a 25-mile radius. I've sent them an email. I've walked into their office to see if I can make an appointment. I've done this with both builders and architects, and I'm not getting anywhere with it. And of course, we need to speak to how you can make an architect's life easier or a builder's life easier to get them to pay attention to that first initial reach out. Do you have any tips or ideas on some of the biggest pain points that architects and builders deal with that we could use as that opening sort of, I could help you with this, Mr. or Mrs. Architect or Mr. and Mrs. Builder?
Well, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is, how do we meet architects who will call us in for a project, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the way to do that is attend some of these seminars that go on in the area. And like ASID, the Kitchen and Bath Association. If you're I'm in New York, so the showrooms in Manhattan at 200 Lexington, the D&D building, there's the A&D building. There's always things that are going on, which, especially if they're the continuing education units type of seminars, which are going to attract architects, sometimes engineers and designers to get information and meet one another. And that's just a really informal way of just talking to people and seeing if you connect.
Right.
And that I've seen is the best way to do it. Walking into somebody's office is like, I don't know.
Tough, right?
Not to say that I haven't done it.
Right.
But because give me a hoop, I'll jump through it. It's fine. But it's not always the best. I think in these sort of informal type of situations, and you have to also see if you connect.
Right.
The personalities mesh. I mean, everybody's different, and that's so important.
Well, to your point is really what you're saying is create the relationship first. Don't ask for the business first. Create the relationship first. Create to see if there's a chemistry, a synergy between the two of you as a personality set. And then eventually there may be some business that's referred. And it's funny because I've said the same thing. I've said this story on the podcast once before. WindowWorks is IP member at ASID, and it's been for 20 some years. And the reality is that I will often say to, different vendors like window treatments and tilers and different things, like, how do you meet the designers? And, before the podcast, naturally, I would say, well, are you a member of ASID? And they'll say, oh, I've been a member of ASID forever. It doesn't, it doesn't work. And I would say, well, have you been on any of the committees? Well, no. And how many meetings have you been to? I don't know. I go to the holiday party. I sometimes catch another meeting. And the reality is to your point, somebody wants to get to know you first, wants to see if there's some synergy there. They're so rarely, every once in a while it will happen, but so rarely is a designer going to open up the IP directory and go, oh, I need a window treatment person. There's one. They're going to want to know. They're going to call somebody they know. And I remember spending 2.5 years on the trade show committee, and there were 20 designers on that committee. And to this day, I probably do business with 5 or 6 of them. And that was 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and because it was meeting every single month for 2 years, working together on something, they get to know you. And so I love that tip, Denise, is that, of course, as designers, when you see the roster of the offerings at the different design centers, yes, if you're interested in trends and you're interested in forecasting of trends and stuff, go to that. But the better is, if you're interested in meeting architects, is go to some of the seminars that would be more likely to attract an architect, right?
Absolutely. And also, I think if you hear somebody on a podcast, yeah, and you really are like, wow, that person is doing great work, like, let them know.
Yes.
Send them a text, send them an email saying, I just want to tell you, my name is Mary. And when you talked about the yada yada, that was just so cool. And you know what? I thank you for, sharing that. You're going to start a relationship that way. And that's a connection. Also, like, again, with Instagram. I mean, Instagram is a conversation. It's like this subculture of another language. And when you're in it, you meet people. And I met my photographer that way. I have this incredible professional photographer, and he reached out to me on Instagram, and I looked at his work and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And so he's done several of my projects, and I see him at the shows or whatever. So if you see somebody who you feel that you want to network with, or you love an architect or builder that you love their work, make a comment, send them a private message, not a long one, but just say, wow, this is amazing. You've inspired me.
Well, and it's funny because you reminded me, I had Enoch Sears on the show a couple years ago, and he has a podcast, Business of Architecture. And, to your point, we don't have a lot of architects on this show, but, there are shows that are literally facing builders, that they are, if you go into iTunes and Google construction podcast, builders podcast, or listen to Enoch Sears' Business of Architecture podcast, I mean, that is a great point, because if you are listening to some of these podcasts, it's almost like going to networking events with these trades, and you don't know which one of these is going to be in your area. And a simple, hey, you said something really that made me think in a different way, blah blah blah. That's a tip that I had not ever considered before. That for a designer to listen to podcasts that feature architects and builders, and to possibly have the opportunity to create relationships that way. But it's so true. It's so true. Good.
And it even can be as simple as, I mean, I have my son is in high school, my young son. So the moms went out after some parent meeting or something, and I'm sitting next to somebody who I hadn't met before, and we're just chatting away, and I didn't know her child, but and we're having the best conversation. And then we just came up and said, oh, so what do you do for work? Because she made a reference, and she's an architect, and she's great. I love her.
Jackpot.
So it's like, and she did all these different things, and then we met in my office, and we had another chat, and and I'm in this networking group, and I'm trying to get her to join this, and it's like, it's anywhere. I think you just have to be genuine. I mean, I know that sometimes when you're kind of desperate to meet somebody and fill in the blank for your business, that it could take forever. But these things do take a while to develop, but just put yourself in a situation, get out there, talk to people, be yourself, and that's it. And it'll come.
Yeah. No, I love that tip. I love both of them. The CEUs that are more likely to attract an architect, and then also the listening to the podcasts and so forth. Good. Now, I looked at your website. And on your website, you have the list of the people in your firm. And what was so cool for me is that now, of course, I'm looking at the list, and you have an assistant, and you have a design assistant, and I see there that you have a CFO. That is very familiar to us here on the podcast.
Yeah.
So Kimberly Merlitti is listed on your website as your CFO. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was so excited because with Kim, I had found her on your podcast. And I love your podcast because of all the wonderful sharing, and everybody gets something from somewhere. And I had my aha moment when I was driving in Manhattan, and I was coming from a client or something, and I'm listening to your podcast, and you and I are together a lot, even though you don't know it. And and I'm listening to this gal talk about planning and all the accounting part of it, but at a real high level. It's a lot more than just your QuickBooks and your purchase orders and your invoices and how you do. This was the projection of clients and how to see your growth and see if you're taking on too much work and if you have to staff up. And she had all these formulas, and it was like, oh yeah, that is what I need. And I was like, yay! So I called her like a year ago, October.
Wow.
And so I've been working with her for a year, and it's just another level of really understanding where I want to go with my firm, and how I want to grow, and what it takes to get to a certain number, how much I can handle, because we all feel that we have to work so much, and you don't want to work to burnout. So it's kind of making the plan before you get to burnout. And or if you're slow, we get slow, we get super busy. It's planning and seeing what is in your reserves and how to keep everything going, especially when you have overhead.
I love it. When, there's certain people that when I meet them, Kimberly Merlitti was one of them. I was like, whoa, okay. And she's been on the show 2 times. And what was interesting for me is, as well as I've come to know her, I knew that she said, I can be the CFO for your business. It's like basically outsourcing the CFO role. I had never known that it was a thing to actually, like, if I didn't know Kimberly through the podcast, I would have looked at your website and then just been like, oh, that's your CFO, that she's probably there in New York with you, and that's your CFO. And I was like, because you have her listed right there with her headshot, with her staff, looking like she's part of your staff. And so that was an interesting little tweak for me. And I like that. And so my question is that typical with Kimberly, or did you ask her, or did she suggest it, or did you just say, I just want this credibility added to my website? Because it does add credibility. It makes me think, oh, this lady's got this firm buttoned up.
Well, I think what's really important is, in this world where we don't have to have everybody in the office at once. And
right.
I think the most important thing about running any size business, and we're small, is that you have a really good team, and you have people in your team that have their own, as you would say, their superpowers, and they fill in the blanks for the things that are not your superpower, right?
Right.
And so just the fact that Kim is not even in the same state with me, let alone at a desk in my office, doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And that is a product of the good part of technology, is that we don't have to do that. So, so I felt it was really important to say, okay, just because, I have a small office and there's only a couple people there and blah, 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 but I have a far-reaching team and business and support system, and here they are.
Right.
And again, it does give credibility, because I think that's really important as a profession, a design build, interior design firm, to be able to explain that we're running a real business.
That's it.
And
I love it.
We take it all super seriously. And because also, and this is sort of the unsaid, people are giving us hundreds of thousands of dollars of their money,
Right.
like a ton of it.
Mhm.
And they need to know that we know what we're doing, period.
Yeah, I love it. I'm telling you, I love it. And like I said, it was so funny is it made me think how often in the last couple of, almost 4 years, where I've seen the CFO position listed on a designer's website, and it always strikes me as valuable. Every time I see it, I have that exact sentence in my head, oh, this is a serious firm. But what's funny is when I saw Kim on yours, I thought to myself, I wonder how often that CFO has been a remote CFO too, because I've never thought to ask it, except for that I knew that Kim was remote. So that's awesome. I love it. Tell me about working with her. Like, so there's colleagues listening that are thinking, well, what does the CFO do for you, Denise? How does that work? It's not bookkeeper, because you have a bookkeeper too. You said it's higher level, it's strategy. Tell us, what's the process like? Do you meet with her on the phone once a week, once a month? Like, what are kind of the things that you go through and she helps you with?
Right. Okay. So in the order of the way things work, so she is my CFO that I meet with at minimum once a month, and we go over all of the money that's going in and the money that's going out, and we talk about the projects that are on the horizon. So and what their potential revenue could be, because we have overhead. We are a for-profit business, and we need to have an idea of how that's going to be sustaining. And again, if everything is working that we have in place, there should be a nice, amount of clients in the pipeline that are continuous, being just a steady flow. That's always the goal: steady flow, steady flow. And so that's how we work together, and she has her formulas, and we look at this and that. She also got me, as of a year ago, October, we have timesheets. So me and my assistant log everything that we do in specific categories. So ideally, I would be working on a client project all the time, right? Because that's more income producing.
Right.
And then, but there's times where the other categories are billing, right? There, for me to be paying out invoices or whatever, posting. Then there would be marketing, as I'd mentioned, big on marketing. There might be, I go to High Point, I go to industry events, and these are all super, super important. So I can see when I run a report where my time is being spent, and it's a super good thing. And when you go forward, when you have junior designers or assistants and you grow, you also must have this in place, because then you're billing them out. So this is all super important. So she has tweaked certain things to make me more efficient, and we're always learning and growing and adjusting. So, I will never stop that. But and even when I have questions, we're talking about, I just was on the phone with her earlier in the week, and where do we want to grow? How big do we want to be? And what that means in terms of having more people to have on our staff. So, and I actually am interested, it was interesting, because I'm realizing that I don't want to be that big. And I don't want to really be that big. So that was sort of an interesting, also, maybe 20 years ago, I would have not said that, but I think I value balance. I value certain things that I do. I don't want to really work more than 40 hours a week, and I don't want to work on weekends.
Right. No, I mean, and it's so true. I mean, I remember way back in the first 6 months of the podcast, Krista Cooper was on, and the show was titled Work-Life Balance, and I have forever regretted calling it that because that show discussed how Krista Cooper, much like Kimberly Merlitti, takes you from, well, what do you want to earn this year? Let's start there. And what do you want your work life to look like? Do you want to work 20 hours? Do you want to work 40 hours? Do you have 3 little kids? Do you have no kids? Do you do you have a spouse or a partner? Like, what does that look like? And now let's take that and apply the numbers to it. If you, and I remember her show was like, if you want to earn $100,000 a year and you're billing at $200 an hour, but you only want to work 2 hours a week, is that going to get us there? Right? Like, I'm being facetious on the example, but the idea is that the show titled Work-Life Balance leads you to think, oh, let's talk about, do I have time to go to yoga? And it's like, it is that, but it's more from the money standpoint, right? And so, and Kimberly, I remember having that same conversation, teaching us how to evaluate what we're doing and does it support the financial goals that you have. And to your point now, Denise, I mean, look, I know this about you. I know that you're a rock star singer. You actually sing in a rock band, which I love. I love the videos of you singing. You're absolutely killer. And you're also a competitive tennis player. And you have 2, teenagers, young, a high schooler and a college student. And so these are things that you are consciously making time in your life for. But that doesn't mean that you still don't have an income goal, a revenue goal, a project per year goal. And what you're explaining is that Kim helps you in strategizing for that, right?
Yes, with her formulas and backing into my goals, that is exactly it.
I love it.
It's so great, And then so that's her
role.
Excellent help. And then I have a bookkeeper who takes basically my checkbook and my 2 credit cards and looks over and my books and makes sure everything is working okay. I mean, we input everything, but she deals with that stuff, and that's great. And she's also remote, so I just give her the papers and she does it from, her home office or wherever she's at. Mm-hmm. And then I have my assistant who she does all of the purchase orders and the invoicing and, accepting payments, credit cards, checks, whatever. And she does her thing and has all the relationships with the manufacturer's reps when we're ordering everything and, whatever has to be done with those deliveries and installations and so forth. So she's like my other half, my yin and yang, it's like,
right.
It's the other, so she does all of that. And to the point where certain emails come in because we have one shared email. And it's like, I know that she's just going to automatically, we've been working together for years. She'll automatically take care of certain things. I just don't have to think about it. And we have our roles, and it's most important.
I love it.
Most important. Yeah, it's good.
I love it. And so tell me a little bit, you still have a CPA. That's Kimberly is an addition to this. We still, because taxes still have to be done and you still have your meetings with your CPA, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I have the CPA but he's more off in the background. We'll meet him, have a phone conversation, maybe quarterly. Mm-hmm. I've been working with him for years. He also does my family's taxes and so forth. So he's not as involved. He does the overview of my business.
Right. Well, and that's really the mistake that people sometimes make. They think because they have a CPA that they're also going to get that strategy planning and all of that stuff. I mean, unless it's Peter Lang, the designer CPA, you're probably not getting that. And so that's where where Kimberly's expertise comes in, because it's, to your point, I love that you said it. It's a skill set completely different than the bookkeeper skill set. It's no different than if you had, a painter and a tiler, both valuable, both artisans, both craftsmen, both important, but they do different things. And the bookkeeper does different things than the CFO, and the CFO does different things than the CPA.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it kind of takes a village, but not really. It's really, if you just kind of break it down to what you need, it's not such a big deal. And it's just a matter of having everybody do what they do best and have a very specific role for each.
Can I ask you a question? When you first heard Kim on the podcast and you called out to her and you started to she started to put you through the paces. Okay, we're going to start to track these hours. We're going to start to have conversations about the pipeline and the projections and stuff like that. Was there any part, Denise, where you had a little bit of the ground shaking a little bit under you? Because you were in business many years at that point. It's not like you're brand new. Did you have any part of you that was like, oh, I previously really wasn't looking at this with my eyes wide open and it was sort of okay, and now it's scary for you to make me look at this every month? Did you have any of that?
Well, there were two things that I was feeling. The first one was I was so relieved because I thought that my CPA was the one to give me this information, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't get the help that I needed from him. I mean, and honestly, I realize now it's not his role.
Right.
So that was like, oh, I get it. And I didn't know that somebody like her existed to even know that I should be looking for somebody like her. So it's like, okay. And that's why it was such a relief. I'm like, oh my God, this is who I need.
Right.
So that was excellent. Then, but the like, oh, I have to do this. So logging all of my hours every day, I was like, oh, geez, do I really have to do that? But I do that on bigger projects. So if I have a whole house project, I would log those particular hours for the big project because that will help me know if I estimated it correctly for the next big project. So I was doing it anyway, but more sporadically, and
she just said, no, we're doing it every time, every day, every time.
But it makes total sense because I can run reports and I can say, how much time did I spend doing this month? How much did I spend on this? Or even for the smaller projects that we'll do for clients, I can say, oh, geez, I found out that on the smaller projects, because of doing this, I had to bill hourly on smaller projects. Like anything under maybe a $30,000, $50,000 project, I have to bill hourly because it takes as much time as the big ones, and it just does.
Right.
So, and then I bill hourly and I invoice monthly.
And you learned though that the nugget in there is that you learned that from this process of working with Kim, because you were doing your hourly tracking on the big projects, not the little projects. And maybe it sounds like you found out that you weren't as profitable on those 30, 50K projects because you A, weren't tracking your hours, and B, didn't realize that whatever flat fee you were coming up with really wasn't appropriate.
Without a doubt.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is absolutely
That's
true.
a moneymaker right there. Like the first 30K project you made money on, that paid back in spades her advice.
Right. So that was awesome. And then even again, on any of them, on the big ones where I estimate the big ones by having, I have a whole sort of a project time estimating sheet in Excel, and I basically fill in the blanks for my time. So how long will it take to have client meetings? How long will it take to, for me to do all the different steps of the process? And then I have how much time will it take my assistant to do it? And then is my junior designer going to be on there? How much? So you have that all, and that's how I figure out my flat fee. Basically, it's based on hours, and then you add maybe 20% more because it always takes a little bit longer. Right. And that's how you get a really good flat fee. But at the end of the project, when it's all done, then I pull up those timesheets per client, right? In QuickBooks, I can do that. And then I fill in the actuals, and then I compare. And, hopefully you estimated correctly. And if not, then you say, okay, this on the new projects that are coming in that might be similar in scope, you say you'll be able to adjust the flat fee that much more, detailed, because you have this basis of facts.
I love it.
Really, it's really helpful.
It's just, it's so, the thing is, to me, what I've learned in talking with various designers over the years is that sometimes you're afraid to do this. Sometimes, that's why I asked you if you had any fear or if your world was rocked a little bit, because sometimes there is this feeling of, you call out to somebody like Kim or whoever the professional is that you're calling, whether it's Michelle Williams or Nancy G or whoever it is, right? You call out to them because somewhere in your core that, yeah, I'm not doing it quite as well as I could be doing it. But then and so you make the call and you're prepared. But then there's this point often where you're like, whoa, I didn't realize how messed up this was. And so there's that little moment of, oh my goodness. But when you power through it and you come through the other side with the great advice from the expert that you're dealing with, in this case for you, Kim, the knowledge that it gives you and the confidence it gives you when, like, now you're so clear. You're like, look, 30, 50K, you're going to do hourly. Like, you're not wishy-washy on it, right? And isn't that amazing? I imagine there could have been a moment 2-3 years ago where you might have been like, well, should I do hourly? Should I do flat fee? Where now it's like, look, I can't make money unless I do it hourly. That's how it's going to be. You need a designer who's full in, committed to doing this, and isn't begrudging the process because I know I'm not making money on it. I mean, it's as simple as that, right?
Yes, it's as simple as that, but it allows you to say, maybe I should walk away from these projects.
Another thing, right?
That could be it, or whatever. So
but again, that confidence is there, right? You're coming from knowledge. That's why, right?
And I think that's a key. Your confidence in potential clients are going to know if you know what you're doing,
right?
And it is a confidence, and you just, if you know your numbers and you know how you know the facts, you're going to be able to project that because again, at the end of the day, they're investing a lot of money in your business for you to help them. Right. And they need to know that you have this all buttoned up. Right. And it's not that hard. It really isn't.
Well, the truth is, it's like we always say, it's just because something is simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? So it is simple if you look at it on black and white. Develop a process, develop a system, understand how to charge for it, understand how to express your value, and stand there and do it. But, simple isn't always easy, but it can be done. And that's the hope of when guests like you come on and share the learning experiences that you've gone through, because then we all know that it can be done. And I love it. I think it's awesome that at that many years in business that you are willing to say, look, there's another way. There's another professional that can help me just up my game. And that is so critical. It's what we expect, that the consumer understands that by hiring the design professional, that they're going to do things, their outcome is going to be better. It's the same with us. We have to hire people to help our outcome be better. Now, the last thing I want to say before I let you go is, I've mentioned the video on your website a couple of times. And the one video is what is a design build firm? And there's a couple videos and it's, again, I know you. And so we have similar circle of friends. And Jana Phipps, the trim queen, is there in your video as your client. And so what I said to you off air was, is Jana, I know that you and Jana are friends, right? But I'm like, is Jana also actually your client? Or is she in the video with you just because she's just so photogenic and she's your friend and you could do it? And so tell us your answer.
Yeah. So I really needed to have, an actor in my movie. Haha. So who better than, my fun friend who, we get together and we're just like, silly ham sandwich. I mean, we just have so much fun. It's like, so, because nobody else really wants to do it. And we really don't take each other, ourselves or each other seriously. And but I was like, listen, I mean, I really need to visually explain what we do. And so she's like, yeah, no problem.
I know.
So she became a character in my movie, at least in the opening. So it's the homepage. It's just a no sound, quick, whatever that is, 30 seconds or something, review, and then and that's where she was kind enough to take the time and be looking at things and materials and plans and stuff. And
what I love about it is, and the reason I bring it up is because, again, it's just like when I saw Kim on your list of the people that run your firm. If I didn't know Jana, I would literally just think that this is a client who thinks you are the cat's meow. I mean, the joy on her face, the two of you, the chemistry that's there, it really just, as if I were a stranger, I would look at that and think, wow, she really develops a great rapport with her clients. And the truth is, I'm sure that you do. But the idea is how many of our clients are willing to really just put their insecurities and the whole things that you say, oh, do I look okay on camera? And this feels awkward. But, and that's what I wanted to express it was that, you could have a best friend that is that person that you can just laugh and be casual with. And there's no reason not to make that person part of your video, because all it is showing whatever your nature is. You and Jenna are both just fun, silly, crazy, out of the box women, right? You just, I mean, like you said, you get together with Jenna. I know Jenna. I've had dinner with her. It's like, it's just like you know her your whole life. She's amazing. But then somebody else's personality might be more proper and more buttoned up, and that's okay. But your friend that is your bestie, she relates or he relates to that in you and can be that person. And that is, I just wanted to bring it up from that standpoint, because I thought it was an awesome little, just get somebody that you're really automatically comfortable with.
Right. I mean, it doesn't have to be a quote unquote real client of yours.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Again, it's just
painting
the
visual picture. Yeah.
Exactly. And when in doubt, smile a lot.
Yes.
It's really, people just want to know that you're approachable. I mean, that's really what it is. If you don't feel comfortable on camera, don't do it. It's just not worth it. Then have really nice stills. Even if you're smiling in a still picture and you're just showing something, that's okay too.
Exactly.
And it's not for everybody, and it's not going to hold you back in any way. People just want to get to know you a little bit. It just breaks that. Are you an axe murderer or are you a nice person? That's really what it's a conveying in whatever way. Just be yourself.
Yeah, no, I just loved it. Again, it made me think, all the videos I've watched on designers' websites all these years, I wonder how many of those ones that were quote unquote clients were friends that just help you feel more comfortable in doing the process. I mean, I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of all of that stuff. And it is, the video is actually the most awkward thing, because you're supposed to look like you're just naturally in a moment of having a good conversation or a good interaction, but you're not. You're sitting there with cameras on you and you're like, yeah, I'm really just not doing any of that right now. This is awkward. So I thought it was so awesome to have a friend in there, and the idea that you can both just like, you're ridiculous and so are you, and let's just laugh and do this.
But just realize that whatever you say, some people can read lips. So you can't say certain things that are really off the wall.
That's a great tip, because that would be me. I'd be like saying all this trash talking. Do you believe we're sitting here doing this? This is so people will like me.
So funny, but it works. Whatever works, you do it.
I love it. It's awesome. Well, you're a great lady. I'm so glad that we have crossed paths and become friends, because you're fun. And I, in my show notes on the website will be Denise's website, and also your YouTube channel where we can see your rock videos. I mean, way to go, lady. I'm telling. Talk about like everybody's alter ego. Like, that's amazing that you get to live it.
Oh, well, that's kind of funny, because in my 20s I took like opera lessons with this incredible woman for like 6 years, and I'm doing this Italian arias and all this stuff. And when my friends at the time were having weddings, I was doing the Ave Maria in the church and the whole bit. And it was, it was pretty cool, but I was nervous at the time, and it was, I couldn't do it. So then I kind of went back to it like 30 years later, when I was trying to get my kids to take some music lessons, and they had this adult band camp, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Now I'm over 50. I don't care. It's not about me. Let's just have some fun. And my voice got lower. It's nothing like my speaking voice, so don't worry. And it's like, I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Oh.
And then I just had the best time, and a local band needed a lead singer, and I stepped into it. And it's like once a month, we practice like once a week. And these guys are great. They're like really good musicians. I got 2 lawyers and a retired railroad engineer, literally. And it's like, it's great. And somebody who works on a magazine, publisher. It's like, and we just get together, and it's such another creative outlet.
Yeah.
And and I get to pretend. So I go on stage and we do covers, and I pretend that I'm the person who originally sang those songs.
And Joan Jett and Stevie Nicks.
Yeah, like all these like cool
Pat Benatar.
you know, and it's like I get to pretend I'm someone else, and I get to wear, some cool clothes. I'll definitely get my alter ego out a little bit, and it's just like it's fun, and I get to see everybody dance and come together, and they come together and they're having fun together, and it's another creative outlet. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's connecting. It's just connecting.
Yes.
For good.
It's awesome. I love it. I think it's awesome. There's so much to see on your website, and I encourage everybody to go to it. And like I said, I'll put it all in the show notes. It's awesome. Thank you so much, Denise, for coming and sharing your advice and your tips with us today.
Thank you. I just think you're wonderful. So just keep on doing everything that you're doing, because it's so helpful.
Oh, thank you. First thing I have to say about Denise is I want to commend Denise for taking action when she heard Kimberly Merlitti on the podcast. This is what I'm talking to you guys about all of the time, that when you hear something that you know is right for you, or you learn about a service or a coach or a software that you know will improve your business, that you actually have to do it, right? That's the secret sauce, the doing part, the deciding to be excellent part, right? The not taking your own business for granted part, and not putting off initiatives that you know you should be implementing, big or small, whatever they are. So huge high five to Denise for hiring Kim. And you heard it in her voice, didn't you? The confidence that she has, knowing that she has a seasoned pro like Kim, strategizing with her, helping her evaluate the big financial moves. I just love it. And if you haven't heard of Kimberly Merlitti, check out episode numbers 442 and 361. And of course, if you're thinking about signing up this April 24th for my Power Talk Friday tour at High Point 2020, Kimberly Merlitti is one of the experts who will be there all day with us. All right, that's right, okay? We're going to have Kimberly Merlitti, Sandra Funk, the CEO of House of Funk, Sarah Brennan from Sarah Lynn Brennan Interiors, and Darla Powell, the head wingnut over at Wingnut Social. All right, it's an awesome lineup, isn't it? I know, I'm right, I know I am. So you can find information for that at powertalkfriday.com. Okay, all right, now. So yay for Denise on hiring Kim. But we have more yays for Denise. How about getting her construction manager certificate? I mean, talk about putting your money where your mouth is. When her goal was to become a design build firm, she put in the money and the time to be as knowledgeable and as prepared as she could. I just love this too, okay? And I also loved her tips for connecting with people who can introduce you to the type of projects you're looking for. So, as she said, if you're looking to meet architects, go to seminars and CEUs that are of interest to architects. If you're looking to meet builders, join the associations that are of interest to builders, okay? I mean, it's pretty, obvious once you hear it, right? Like if you were a young mother and you were looking to meet other mothers to hang out with, create friendships and that lead to play dates and commiserating on raising your kids, I mean, you go to story time at the library, right? You don't go to a nightclub. So it makes sense, but sometimes we need a roadmap to see what's right in front of us. And of course, Denise just did that for us. So that's awesome. All right. Now, during this conversation, I mentioned several episodes, and you can always find these episodes listed in the show notes. So if you're new to the show and I refer back to another guest and you're thinking, well, what does that mean? Well, you can just go to the show notes on my website, LuAnnNigara.com, and you can go to latest podcast episode or the show notes on whatever device you're listening to. And we always put them there so that if you want to make those connections to the episode that you just heard, it makes it easier for you. Okay? All righty. Well, thank you for joining me today. I really, really love it when you show up. I really, really do. Thank Denise so much for joining me. She's such a good friend. I mean, one day I got to go out and see her do her rock star stuff. I mean, this is unbelievable. So, all right, what are you going to do today? I hope you're going to take some advice from Denise and act on it. All right? I want you to decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.